Welcome back to the GSTL. Right now, LGIM up one game, taking out the Protoss player Brave. Was first, he did it, and it puts them into a 1-0 lead. A great position to be in when you've got this many champions on your bench.
Exactly, and now we have Antigua Shipyard, which is the second map of the day. And first here, of course, against a Terran player.
Yeah. Salvation, someone who hasn't really shown in too many matches thus far. This is his map pick, of course, as it is always loser pick for those who are not as familiar with the GSTL format. The losing player is replaced by another player who picks the map, and is the first team to get 5 wins or eliminate all of the opposing team's players, although I don't think there's ever been a team admitted to the GSTL that's had less than 5 players on a roster at a time.
And here we have the 2 players.
Yeah, here they are.
Salvation looking a little bit nervous. I think it's one of the first appearances that he actually has in the booth overall. And he looks also pretty young. First, on the other hand, is a little bit more experienced, especially in international events.
Yeah. Definitely having a lot more experience traveling to several MLGs, for example, performing well there. See how Salvation shapes up here. Obviously a strong player. He was chosen by NSOSA. The map is Antigua Shipyard. It's loading now. It's the GSTL Season 3 with Outdoor Involved.
3, 2, 1, go! Feed my motor! Burning tire! You were lost. Apparently, you were gone. But now,
starting at the bottom of Antigua Shipyard in red, we have the Terran player starting for NSOSA today. It is
NSOSA Salvation!
that second player. Brave was defeated in the first game on Daybreak for the Protoss opponent of Salvation. He starts, of course, cross map to the top right in blue. Protoss player for LGIM, Midas.
LGIM posted!
And one of the things... Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one of the things. Apparently there's a little bit of... A lot of people were surprised that actually Freaky was in the lineup, because there is the information that he retired, that he is not an active member of NSOSA anymore. The thing is, I tried to confirm it in the break, and I actually talked to the production staff, and they confirmed that the NSOSA team listed him as an active player. He's not in the studio today. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't see him, and I checked the player lineup earlier. He's not in the studio. And he might actually have retired. At this point, I don't know, but the NSOSA team still listed him as an active player of their team, so that he's allowed to play in this season. So whatever the reason is, we might see him in the GSTL Season 3, but today he's definitely not in the studio.
Yeah, so hopefully that answers everyone's questions. It seems to be that unless he comes in off of a rocket or something, he's probably not going to be playing today. But he has the opportunity to if he shows up. A lot of harassment here by First Probe. He does see the gas, which is the most important thing, but he almost killed that SCD several times. And now he knows that there is a tech build coming out for Salvation. He doesn't know of what kind it's going to be. This could be one of these fake builds where you mine only 50 gas and then make a reactor and make a command center. It's entirely possible on a map like this, and the probe actually does get out, just barely. Crazy that probe is actually able to do that much damage, get that much information, and escape. That is a first probe.
On this map, of course, talking a little bit about the Protoss players you just did already. On this map, all-ins or attacks with Blink Stalkers are really strong. With the high and low ground position that you have, you can really use an observer to get into the high ground and then blink 6 days to Sunday. So we will basically see what exactly the NSOSA opponent has in mind. And with the fast factory that we currently see, he might just go for well, any kind of opening here. We could see 8 Marines and 3 Hellions just starting to poke a little bit, going with 1 Medivac for a drop play. We could also see Banshees with a second gas that he's currently building. It certainly looks like he's going to add the starport and attack that quite soon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. With the second gas, these days, almost everyone is going Cloak Banshees. There's hardly any builds left without Cloak anymore in this matchup. It could be Siege Tank play, like we've seen Beyond, for example, do in the past. Even Marine King really adopting this style quite often. We saw, actually, Reality use the style a little bit on this very map. Looks like we're going to see a proxied starport, though, based on the positioning of this SCV. The question is, will it be spotted by this Stalker? It's looking around right now, and SCV actually not going to be proxying, but he is going to be spotted. He wants to go and see if there's a Nexus, but First denies him.
Yeah.
Great scout timing on the SCV, but also great reaction by First taking him out, denying the spot on the Nexus.
Yeah, really well done. He actually knew exactly that he would lose sight of the SCV for just a second, and therefore did not attack with the Stalker anymore, just walked up the ramp, and as soon as he had vision on the worker again, he took it down. The last shot killed the SCV, and therefore no scouting information of the Nexus at this point. And we have now the factory landed at the left side, producing the first few Hellions. So it looks more and more like we have a composition of Hellions and actually a Banshee.
Yeah, quite strange to do a composition like this. He may be wanting to get that cloak first and then make only a few Banshees and switch into siege tanks. There's a lot of different options for him. It's very hard to afford all of that with limited amount of gas that you have off of one base. Now, of course, First has gone for a fast robo after he saw the gas. He was like, well, I just want to play this safe. Who knows what he's going to do? But he does drop the Nexus down now with the Observer. Second gate is up as well. So he's basically doing a very safe catch-all build here where not only he expands, which is a little bit late, but he finds out what his opponent is doing with that fast robotics stack.
The expansion has now been started for the LGIM player. First already has his Nexus, and of course if you start with the Banshee and harass in the main base, then you might be able to draw all your opponent's forces into the main in order to defend. Then you have a free shot at the expansion and can take down the Harvesters, but he still has to have a pretty decent timing, and of course this one probe that currently patrols at the left side of the map will help First quite a lot with the scouting.
Yeah, and you actually will see the positioning of the tech lab on the starport. Hellions actually are going to sneak around the left side. They are spotted by that probe. This is actually really scary, though. He's going to have to move his units into the natural, and at the same time the Banshee's coming. And this is a great time by Salvation. He's going to force units to either be at the natural or at the main. Luckily, the Nexus is so late that he can actually just tank Hellion shots with it.
That's actually true. At this point in time, there's no worker down there that could be killed, and the Banshee has a bit of tough luck to the top right as well. There's already an Observer in position, so even with Cloak he would have had a problem, but he doesn't have Cloak just yet, and I don't think he will research the upgrade. Nice Observer pickup from the main base though.
Yeah, he takes it out with the Raven, and this is something that First did not anticipate. Didn't know there was going to be a Raven coming out here. He thought probably continued Banshee production. With the positioning of his Observer on the main base, it indicates he thinks that the Terran player has gotten Cloak. Salvation has done no such thing, and this timing actually would have been really good against some of the slightly faster Nexus with the probes mining down there, but as the Nexus was not ready, he wasn't able to do anything with those Hellions, which he's still using very well to scout around the map. He's holding the Watchtower, even took out one of the pylons at First with his Banshee, trying to make use of all the units he's made while transitioning into the next phase, which is the siege tank push with point defense drone.
Exactly. Salvation really wants to apply some pressure here. The Raven already indicating it early on. No expansion for the Terran player. He really wants to end this early. And for the LGIM player, it's really important that he gets those Immortals out. At this point in time, he actually has 36 probes, which is when you usually start to cut your worker production when you're expecting a one base all-in by Terran, trying to get these units. And this is exactly what he has already. So it won't be easy for Salvation to break through here. He has a bit of an army supply lead, but it's only a 10 supply lead in total.
And it looks like First actually wants to go out and meet him here, which will be great for forcing a siege up, but the angle of attack here is quite strange. He's actually trying to fight with his Raven so exposed here. He doesn't want to use point defense drone just yet.
And of course, really important is that the more time First buys with these new Stalkers, the better for him. The more money he will get, the more units he will have in the game. A lot of SCVs not mining for Salvation anymore as he pulled them with this, this army. Here's the scan on the high ground.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out the best way to approach this. Looks like he's going to try to push in with his Banshees in the main while bunkering at the low ground. Drops a point defense from here. He's actually trying to target down that robotics.
And look how well positioned actually the buildings are for First. He doesn't have anything in range of the sieged up tanks at the low ground.
Yeah, great choice here. Another Immortal will pop out. Point defense drone allowing him to pick off 2 Stalkers here. And you know, you can afford to lose Stalkers to take out those Banshees if you can take the point defense turn out as well. He does do so. And he's still patiently holding here.
Yeah, he's buying so much time. He's at 93 supply against 75. His army supply is at 55 to 45. He's in a great position and time is working in his favor.
Exactly.
Salvation has to do something here, but there's just not a lot that he can do at this point.
He's trying to bait these Stalkers with the siege tank fire, but there's no buildings for him to hit, so the Stalkers just can ignore him. Dropping a point defense drone is not scary. He's sieging up the bottom of the ramp, but he doesn't have an expansion, so First doesn't have to care about this contain because he's still fully mining twice as much as his opponent
There is no real pressure at this point in time. Of course, it's always a little bit uncomfortable to have this Terran army at the low ground, but at the same time, it's not something that can hurt him. He doesn't have to break through. He can patiently wait until the Terran player starts to go, especially because Salvation is not following this up with an expansion.
I really feel he should research Cloak. I mean, I know it's late, but he's killed observers. He actually looks like he wants to push through here. The Immortals leading the charge. The Marines dropping so fast, even with the bunkers at the back.
First deciding that it's time to go, uses the force fields in order to trap the Marines, takes on every single one of them, and now those bunkers, they are doomed, all of them, as well as the Banshees. The NSOSA player is down to 60 supply against LGIM's first 110 overall supply. It looks like the Protoss player has done it, like he was able to secure the second win for his team.
Yeah, total domination here. Siege up tanks on the watchtower, having a problem process in the past, but there's just too much here. He's going to push those Banshees back. The siege tank will fall instantly to those immortal shots. One Banshee down, and about to be two Banshees down. I may not be Dr. Seuss here, but I can count that much. The second Banshee actually does escape. That's the alternate ending of this story, but it doesn't matter because first is just going to push his way all the way up the natural. Probe coming to forward pylon to further the attack, and there's just no way to hold. No bunkers, not enough support for the siege tank here. The Banshee to the side looks a little bit lonely.
Yeah, really well done by First. There it is. GG. And First with a second win for his team. Well played, well done. Salvation and not up to the challenge.
Salvation with a cool build, really nicely timed for someone who went for an earlier Nexus, but he wasn't able to tell the Nexus timing. First with a ton of scouting information, early robo, great probe control to spot the Hellions in the first place, even had an observer ready in his main base for Cloak for Banshees, which didn't even occur, but he was ready for it. Just a total catch-all build from First. It's very safe. And now Tomb Valley is, of course, the next map, and Antigua Shipyards, it's gone. Can't use that against a Zerg player later on.
Exactly. So Entombed is going to be map number 3 of the day, and we will have to wait a little bit longer until we find out who exactly the next player is going to be. But the air is getting pretty thin for NSOSA already.
Yeah, already down 2 players, 2 out of 6. That's about 33% players gone, and it's like you said, looking a little bit thin. Will they use someone like Jakchi now? Will they pull out the champion here and say, all right, this is enough. I cannot let you get this many wins with one of your weaker players, one of your non-GSL champions, one of your Code B players is actually taking out 2 of our players already. We got to do something about this.
Yeah, exactly. It's really tough for them right now, and of course they are still, we mentioned it earlier, there's just so many good players sitting on the bench and just waiting for their chance to show their skills, and especially Seed seemed to be really eager earlier when I talked to him. So at this point, of course, what can you do as an NSOSA? What kind of race do you choose in this particular matchup? Picking Entombed Valley here just shows me that it's not going to be Seal, because they want to get rid of the map before Seal makes an appearance. They don't want him to be countered like this. But is it really going to be Jakchi, or are they going to go for another PvP? Are they pulling Tacita out right now?
It could be Sculpt as well. That's someone to think about. You know, he's a really good player, strong Terran player. He's one that isn't in televised matches all too much, but he's kind of like the leader. He's the captain. And I think putting him out here would be a great way to kind of lead the charge. If he can actually take this win, take out this Protoss here, he's the captain, he's a strong Terran player, might start to make the team morale a little bit higher. But it's a tough thing to do when your first Terran player you sent out already lost. He didn't play Standard, though. If Sculpt comes out and plays Standard, that could be very different.
If history is any indication, the one thing that's definitely going to be true is that we won't see a Zerg player. I think in the last GSTL season we've seen a Zerg player pick Entombed once. It was Moon trying to go for a 6 pool against his opponent.
Who's it going to be?
It is actually going to be Jakchi.
Jakchi comes out. GSL champion Jakchi, current Code A player, coming to take his seat in the booth. And this is kind of a show of force here. First, not looking too phased. I like this choice, though. This is something that you have to do sometimes as a coach. You have to make choices like this. It's not one of my best players, if not the best player on my team right now, because I cannot let them get momentum.
Look at this bench. Look at him, see at the bottom right, being bored, just yawning. Like, yeah, well, I don't even have to play today.
This is probably the most densely packed group of talented players ever put on a Team League bench.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the same thing that we said last season, and suddenly they were gone.
That's very true, man. We'll see if that history repeats itself here. Jakchi coming in, sits in his booth. You can see he's currently in Code A. Win rate of 66.7%, aka 2/3. 16-8 there. And This guy has done well in Team League. He's been a hero for his team time and time again, and I think he could definitely pull through. Look at his win rates. Not a single one, no matter which appearance he comes out at, is less than 50%.
The thing is, he has to come through for his team right now. If he loses as well, and suddenly NSOSA is down 3 games already, that's like the worst case scenario. You only have 2 players to pick. One of them is of course going to be Seal, but there are so many great players in the lineup in the LGIM to counter him. And who's left then? You only have Sculp, you only have Tacita, so that's not going to be easy. And first, he's hungry, man. He really wants to show off his skill.
Yeah. Imagine how awesome it would be if you have a team of such stacked players, then first comes out someone who hasn't revealed very many strategies, he gets an all kill, and then the players sitting on the bench they didn't have to show anything, and you feel like this amazing team, this great show of force that you put out. I think this is a situation that IM is very happy about. If they take this one, I think they're going to be basically on Cloud 9.
I was actually yesterday at the LGIM house and had a quick look at their weekly schedule, and they already scheduled their match for tomorrow. It was actually, I mean, the winner of today, we mentioned this earlier, has to play tomorrow again against Fnatic, and it was already at the board of LGIM. They want to win today, and they are already thinking about Fnatic.
As they should. Fnatic is a scary team. A lot of people not expect them to do as well as they did last season, but they did really well, made a great showing, in fact.
They are really hungry for the Team League. That's the one thing that their coach, that Kwani, always tells us. They really prefer Team League right now. They are really hungry for it. They want to go as far as possible. So LGIM definitely in a position where they can win this season, but still there are a lot of tough teams that they have to beat, and Fnatic would be one of them. But first of all, they have to take down NSOSA. Game number 3 is coming up here at the GSTL Season 3. It's going to be Jockey against First, brought to you by Colin.